Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of your Creepiest Corner. I'm Topher Graham, and with me today is Samantha Lukacs from Crone Cult Films. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am doing well. It's fall, finally, and everything's all getting spooky, so things are good.
It's a bit about what you do for Crone Cult Pictures.
Yeah, well, primarily I started on with Crone Cult Pictures. I do it with my husband, Richard. Start on just as an actress, because it's always easiest to work with someone who works for free. So that's always really helpful. But primarily at this point, I'm working in more of a production capacity. I do a lot of the pre-production, producing on set, a lot of things like that as well.
You've been doing a lot of music videos. What's it like to work in pre-production and work with a band for music videos?
Luckily, we've been really fortunate to work with bands that we're really interested in working with. A really good technique that we've used a few times is just to get a really good idea for a band that really inspires us. Just make it and then just pitch it to them. And if they like it, then that really works well. They'll use it. If not, then we'll use it for something else. We'll put our own score to it. But so far, for the most part, the bands have really enjoyed what we've made, and they put them out themselves. Our most recent one was for Richard's friend Oliver in London, which we filmed in our bathroom here with zero budget.
Now, with Hell Hunt, I know that you worked with the haunted house in Edmonton. What's your experience like with them?
Yeah, so we had made a short film for them more as like a commercial a few years ago. The person running it, Ryan Kozar, really enjoyed what we made. So he took Richard and I on to assist in running the haunted house. So Richard was working as the technical director, and I was working with the actors and overseeing the makeup and hair departments and costume. And by doing that, we had the opportunity to use the sets. So we were able to get our locations for free, which was really, really helpful working with kind of a medium budget. Edmonton's been really, really good to us, and we're really excited to go check it out again this year.
You and me have a kind of connection that we both came from Edmonton. Do you want to talk about what it's like, the film scene in Edmonton versus the film scene here in Vancouver?
Yeah, absolutely. In Edmonton, I find there's a lot of passion projects. Lots of people are really, really into film. They've got really great ideas. There's not a lot of money. So it's a lot of really long hours. It's a lot of insanity, but it's a lot of fun. And we worked on some of our first projects together in Edmonton before Crone Cult. We were working on a project with the House of Heathens called Straight to Video, which was the first story hive that we worked on together. And it was absolutely nuts filming that, but it was a lot of fun. You make a lot of really good connections, and you have to become a family working with projects like that where everyone's working for free. I really loved working on projects in Edmonton, absolutely.
In terms of passion projects, what would you say is your favorite?
That we've worked on, I would say it's got to be Hell Hunt. That one, we had all kinds of crazy ideas for it. It turned out maybe a little differently than we expected, which I think is always how it goes with things like this. But we got to get just all out crazy creative with it and do just everything off the top of our heads. And we had some really fun effects that we got to really kind of workshop, and we got to work with some really great people, and it was a really great team, so it was definitely ideal.
And it's been working out great for you. You won Best Short Horror Film at Cinema Fantastique.
Yes, we did. That was a huge honor. We really were not expecting to win anything for it, and we're just glad that people like it, because we really did make it more or less for ourselves, and it's been relatively well received. We had a pretty good film festival run with it as well, so it's still playing in some film festivals.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Oh, that's tough. Favorite horror movie? Holy moly. There's a lot of genres in particular that I really kind of gravitate to. I really like the more like abstract, surreal kind of stuff. We're a big fan of Jodorowsky, obviously. So we named our cat after him because he's missing a leg. Big fans of like nunsploitation, like Alucarda is pretty up there for me. Big fan of like earlier like 60s, 70s horror, like Wicker Man is probably one of my top movies, and Rosemary's Baby. Those are ones that I watch, probably every other month or so. So yeah, the older stuff for sure. There's a lot of new stuff coming out that I do really appreciate, but the ones that I find myself watching more routinely are definitely more like 60s, 70s.
I've noticed a lot of your style as Crone Cult Pictures is throwback to a lot of older genres, and definitely in a certain style. Do you want to talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, we're big fans of really contrasting light. We like things to be really well lit. We like things to be really, really colorful, really rich looking, which again throws back to more like the Giallo style, which is like more the old like 70s like Italian kind of look. That's Richard's absolute favorite. So that tends to be the look that we tend to go for as well.
So why horror?
Honestly, it would have started pretty young. The very first horror movie I ever remember watching, I was maybe 6, and I was over at an aunt's house, and she threw on Gremlins, and that really got the wheels spinning for me. And ever since then, that's pretty much everything I've gravitated towards in terms of personal style, in terms of the stuff that I like, the music that I like. We got to work with Matt Harvey from Gruesome, which was one of the first, huge, horror metal bands, and he did the score for Hellhaunt. And honestly, like, basically since then, as a little kid, everything's sort of been very Halloween, very horror all the time.
What kind of advice would you give to people who want to follow in your footsteps?
I would say just do it. Like, the very first things that I ever made, I just grabbed a really cheap camera, and I just started filming stuff, and then I figured out there's a lot of stuff everywhere to learn how to edit, to learn how to make stuff your own. Effects are a lot of fun. Like, I've done a lot of my own, horror effects and stuff too, and it's just playing. Like, you just play until you have a look that you really like, and then if you want, you can show people, and if they like it, you keep going, and if they don't, then you keep playing with it. And it shouldn't take any of it too seriously.
In film, it's a very collaborative effort. Who are people that you've enjoyed working with?
Well, back in Edmonton, the production company House of Heathens was really great. It really kind of helped us get a really good idea of what it's like to really work on set. Timothy Rutherford and that whole group was really, really great to work with. Since then, I've got to work with some interesting directors. I got to do a movie with Uli Lamel a few years ago, who did like the original Boogeyman, and he's an absolute nut. He passed away. But he was very, very interesting to work with. He's in his late 80s. He used to work with Andy Warhol. He's a real character. We've worked with Tristan Risk a few times, which I know is big in the Vancouver community as well. And then a lot of it is just people that are absolutely brand new, and that's a lot of fun too, because just seeing what someone that really doesn't have much to do with the film industry can bring to something like this, it's just fun collaborating.
You do a lot of music videos. Are there bands that you're quite fond of that you haven't worked with yet?
Yes, absolutely. I'm workshopping a music video for a band called Church of the Cosmic Skulls out of the UK. They're kind of like a psychedelic, cult-themed sort of band, and I've got some really cool ideas for them. And then we just saw the black metal band Zeal and Ardor just the other night, and we've got a lot of ideas for them as well. So there's a lot of bands that we would love to work with, and we have to make a music video for Exhumed as well, because they gave us some music for Hellhaunt. Oh.
Hello.
And this is Pete.
How does horror affect the rest of your life?
Well, as you can see, basically all of our decor is very horror specific. It's all horror posters. Huge fan of the movies in general. Like we watch 1 or 2 movies pretty much every day, not just in October. And a lot of the music that we listen to has a lot of that in the themes. A really big fan of the imagery and the artwork associated with a lot of horror. It has something to do with every aspect of my life, pretty much. I bake things that look like, grotesque images, make drinks that look like something out of a horror movie. It's definitely a huge, huge central part of our lives.
So when you're working on set, have you had anything go really, like, nutty or crazy, or anything happen that...
Well, the very first short that Richard and I worked on, which was Birthday, we had a decent amount of fake blood for the shoot, and we ended up using it up way too quickly. So we're at the point where I'm about to be completely doused in blood. And luckily we were shooting in black and white, and we didn't have anything on hand except for cold coffee. And we used a pot of ice cold coffee in a very, very cold studio, and that's what we used to cover me in fake blood. And it actually looked okay, but I don't know if I've ever been that miserable cold in my whole life. On a side note, coffee works in black and white. So,
what is your favorite aspects of working in film, and what really drives you to continue working?
I really like to work. Kind of as a producer a lot of the time. I really like to be really organized. I really like to sort of more or less have control over everything that's happening. Like, not to be like, really bossy or anything, but it's cool overseeing an entire project from start to finish. And I think for me, I feel the most successful when something that I've worked on from pre-production gets to post and we get into festivals. And it's very satisfying that way. So I really like to oversee the whole thing from start to finish.
Are there any other filmmakers, like, on the independent scene that you know and are really excited for that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in Edmonton, I would say Angela C. Hagen is one of my absolute favorites. She's really quirky. She makes really interesting stuff. Here in Vancouver, our good friend Daryl Murpaugh is just working on some really great projects. He did a feature film back in Edmonton, but now he's working on some documentary stuff. And we're just kind of slowly getting more integrated, going out to more festivals, meeting more people in the community, and that's been really, really good as well.
So what's next?
What's next? So we just did a commercial for Edmonton for the most recent season. So that's something that we're working on. Richard has a couple of ideas on the burner, and we're just sort of kind of workshopping things and starting into pre-production.
Well, thank you so much for coming out and talking to us. How do we find you on social media?
Well, we're under Crone Cult Pictures on Facebook and Instagram. Those are the best ways to keep up with us.
Interactive theater. It's a new dimension in town. Remember, you're the heart of this piece. Embrace it.
Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.